will hasten to have quite various speaker from various background, which is first is Dr. Associate Professor Dr. Rosilawati Zainul. Okay, she is a director of the Center for Civilizational Dialogue, and she's also the lecturer in the Department of Urban and Regional Planning. Okay, and then we have here Mr. Bima Purnama, which is the head of design in AJM Planning and Urban Design Group APUDG, and later inshallah Mr. Alfred. Okay, I hope that he will manage to join. Okay, he's the founder of Koalisi Pejalan Kaki. Okay, so our topic today focus on walkable city. Okay, walkable city has been a hot topic, okay, for many years already. So in brief, it can be described as the how friendly the city towards the pedestrian and its neighborhood. Okay, according to the US city ranking in walkable neighborhood, okay, city that can be determined either you can walk or you cannot walk, or do you need car to move around. So far, New York scored the first ranking. Okay, the highest ranking in the walkability score. So I think Dr. Rose also do the assessment for walkability. So she will share about the walkability appraisal in UM campus. So Dr. Rose has used an assessment tool called Pedestrian Environmental Quality Index, PEQI, and was modified and used in appraising the infrastructure provided in the campus. With that, I will invite Dr. Rosilawati first to share about her knowledge and experience. So please, Dr. Rose.
Okay, Alhamdulillah, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And
sorry, Doctor.
Yeah.
Sorry to stop, tapi kata participants tak boleh dengar.
Oh iya ke?
Uh-uh.
Then technician.
Mr. John, can you help?
Broadcast.
Yes, please give me one moment.
Okay.
Sorry, Doc. Sebab tak ada orang dengar.
Oh,
It's okay.
And then Mr. Alfred kata dah masuk.
Which one is he? I cannot see the name.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Yeah, Alfred still now. It's okay. It's my voice.
Okay. All right.
Working. Yeah.
Hi, Mr. Alfred.
Hey, Mas Bima. Good morning.
Morning.
Do you have any slides or do you want to turn on your camera?
Sorry. Sorry, Mas Bima.
Ya, Mas Alfred ada slide nggak?
Ada beberapa.
Mungkin bisa di-share ke sini, Mas, yang di sebelah kiri di bawah.
Yang mana, Mas? Yang
ada tanda plus action.
Plus. Yang plus
di bawah.
Take presenter ya.
Kalau nak share, saya suruh dia share ni, take presenter. Kena take presenter.
Take presenter.
Take presenter. And then upload. Dia sudah take presenter kan?
Oke, mungkin ya ini still ready or just testing or Halo, Mas Bima.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, still ready or test before.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just testing.
Yeah. Mr. Alfred, can you turn on your camera?
Wait.
Okay.
Auditorium dia ada live. Kalau yang lain tak ada. Cuba you slide ke kanan tu dia error 404. Another picture. Dia ada interested saja.
Alfred.
Still? Everybody see? No?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. We can see.
Welcome, Mr. Alfred.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
About the issue just now, is it okay to start already, Mr. John Koo?
Yes, all the audience should able to hear you now.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll just continue. Is that okay? So I will introduce. Already joining us is Mr. Alfred from Koalisi Pejalan Kaki. Now I will invite Dr. Rose to share about her experience. So Dr. Rose, you can start now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jess Aulia. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning, everyone. Okay, so today I would like to share with all of you on the appraisal that my team has already done in campus. So I would like to share my slide now. Okay, can everyone see this? Hi.
I don't see it.
Yeah.
Not yet, Dr. Rose.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Can see now? Still cannot see.
No, still no.
Have you clicked the share screen?
Okay, wait. 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 I think share screen. Can see now or not? Is it the different screen? Not the slide.
Boleh dok, boleh tengok.
Maybe still process now.
Dia dalam slide yang full screen ataupun yang
Dia tak full screen.
dia bukan ya? Okay, wait. Let me share again. What about this one? Okay. This is full screen, eh? Okay. Alright. So what we have done is that we did an appraisal in campus to see the level of walkability index in campus. So what we did was we used okay. This is the assessment tool. Okay, let's talk about what is walkability. Walkability is quality of walking, meaning that it encompasses lots of components. Okay, so everyone knows that walking is a natural and accessible culture that encourage physical activities and health among human beings. Okay, walking is the cheapest mode of transportation, and it doesn't yield any pollution. So except for we breathing in and breathing out, that's all. So we should encourage more walking. So that's why in campus especially, university campus is like a city itself, because there's a lot of components of land use in the campus. So that's why we would like to encourage the students to walk more instead of driving private vehicles. And plus another constraint that we have in campus is that insufficient of parking spaces for the students. So they are actually encouraged to walk more, except for those who need to carry lots of things with them to campus or to classes. Okay, so what we did was we conducted an assessment. Why is it necessary to have an assessment? Because we need to gather sufficient data to improve the factors that influence the walkability concepts, such as sidewalk presence, the condition, and how do we promote people to walk more, instead of, if you provide a good infrastructure but why people don't walk, there must be other elements that contribute to the walkability components. So with all the necessary and the needs to conduct assessment, so we list down a few the instrument to choose in order to conduct assessment or appraisal in UM. So there are few tools that we identify. One is Pedestrian Environment Quality Index. In short, we call it PECI. Another one, Neighborhood Environment Walkability Scale. News, in short, News A. And then Pedestrian Environment Data Scan. And another one is Pedestrian Safety Index. Okay, so what are the differences between all these? Okay, PECI is simple and easy to make reference to. So I will share with you what are the necessary elements that we have to follow in order to use PECI. The other one is Neighborhood Environment Walkability Scale. This one requires us to come up with a survey. Survey with the users, survey with the community, and we in the survey we ask about their socioeconomic background and so on. It's quite difficult to gather all the information, and plus we need to add on is the walkability index using GIS. So there's two parts here. So it's not possible yet. Okay. So another one is pedestrian environment data scan. These tools also require a list of information, quite heavy to follow. And the other one is pedestrian safety index, concentrated on safety issues. But PECI has quite a balanced elements to be measured. Okay, so these are the components of walkability. Okay, so this one I gathered from different studies. It's a combination of few studies, which I did not cite each of them. But as we know, the infrastructure, meaning the pedestrian walkway, the width has to be, to complement people, social distance and so on. Meaning that, in order for if you walk with your friend, you don't mind, how to say, walking less than 1 meter. But with COVID-19, we need more space. We need more physical space. And then safety. Safety is not just safety from motorized vehicles, but also from, say, animals and crimes. People are scared to walk in certain neighborhood because of crimes. And then availability of buffer. So buffer is important in the sense that it will protect the pedestrian from danger of vehicles, motorized vehicles, and also crimes. And shades. Okay, in Malaysia, we face heat weather, and we face rainy season. So we need shades. Okay. And then crossing assistance, safety signals and signages. So these are the things that, sometimes people take for granted. They build signage at lower height, and those who walk by the pedestrian might hit the signage. When they put up the signages, they didn't consider people will be walking or using the pedestrian. And then the lamppost, sometimes they put the lamppost right in the middle of the walkway. Okay, so crossing, another one. Crossing is so important because we don't want people to jaywalk. Crossing just like what they wanted to do. But we need to provide crossing facilities for people who walk, using the walkway. So it's quite lacking sometimes in certain places. Setting and activities. Okay, these are the main component that attract people to walk more. If you are not attracted with the surrounding, you won't walk. Okay, so we need to have more kiosks, something for people to see, so that they don't feel when they are walking. They don't feel the distance they are walking. And then the street furnitures. Sometimes when you walk, you need to take a break or rest, like the elderly. Yeah, we know that some old people, they don't walk, but some of them, they want to perform activities by walking, so they need these benches, street lighting is important, because at night, sometimes when the young men, young teenagers, they like to sleep over at their friends, and then they be more mobile, and we need the lights for them, to show, to make them visible to the motorized vehicles that these kids are crossing the roads and so on. And then connectivity. So we found that many pedestrian walkway in Malaysia does not provide connectivity. So it ends somewhere in the middle of nowhere. So it's like when they build the walkway, they don't think of people who will be using it, and they are not sure of origin and destination. They just simply uh, construct the pedestrian walkway, which is not the right way to do. Okay, they're free of obstructions. Sometimes, if you can see in Malaysia, we saw these motorcycles being parked in the middle of the walkway, and pedestrians have to walk, use the road, which is dangerous, to make them passing through the way. So people who park their motorcycles on the pedestrian walkway, they are not, you know, how to say, they don't respect the pedestrian. They only think about themselves. Okay, this is what I feel. I think my team members also feel the same thing. So okay, so that's why we want to see how Unicim Malaya rank in fulfilling all these components. Okay, so what's PECI all about? Okay, Pedestrian Environment Quality Index, PECI. It has 6 categories for evaluation. One is intersection safety, traffic, street design, land use, perceived safety, and also perceived walkability. So it has 2 main components for appraisal. One is intersections, and the other one is road segment. So I will show you the sample of the form to be filled up. Okay, so these are the forms, the 2 forms. Very short, concise, and easy to follow. Okay, we have not customized this to our Malaysian needs. We are following the US criteria. Yeah, but when we did our assessment, we did not follow strictly on the content of PECI. We customized it to meet, you know, the local context in providing, I would say, providing the walkway, pedestrian walkway. So one is intersection, the other one is segment. Dr. Aulia, how long more I have time? Can't hear you.
Maybe you can continue about 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay, sure. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thanks. Okay, so this is UM campus. Okay, so on the left is the land use. We call it land use. We have the blue side is the faculty. Okay, the pink is the institution, the facilities provided for the people who are in campus. And then we have the brown one is the residential college. We try our best to color the whatever the area according to the land use code. Okay, so the main road, the road is the street, the motor vehicle road. Okay, and then we have sidewalk and also pathway. Okay, so on the right is the output of our evaluation. Okay, we use dots in order to show to evaluate. We have this section and so on. So did not go by detail. We have that information. So if it rank red, it requires environment not suitable for pedestrian. And then if it rank orange, it's poor pedestrian condition exists. And then or yellow, basic pedestrian conditions exist. The light green is reasonable pedestrian condition exists, and the green one is ID pedestrian condition exists. So those are the dots. As you can see, you can determine that UM fall between yellow and orange. Okay, so what's next? Okay, what's next? We set action plans. What are the action plans to be conducted in order to make people walk again? So I think our other presenters will be sharing with us what we can learn and how we can ask our management, UM management, to do in order to achieve the SDG and NUA goals. Okay, so all right, I think that's all, Dr. Noalia. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Rose, for the very interesting sharing session. Okay, actually, Dr. Rose already covered about how to make people walk again, make cities walkable again in terms of the infrastructure and facilities provided. But we haven't heard about the human perspective yet. That's why I would like to invite Mr. Alfred to share his experience. Okay, because he's the founder of Coalition for Pedestrian, which is NGO, non-governmental organization. Okay, he will share the experience and aspiration from the perspective of the space user. Because I see one of the quotes that I like today that when that particular city is obsessive with the self-driving car, so usually the pedestrian are overlooked. So when the city or the government that managing the city fail to accommodate for this pedestrian, so this is what the factor that hinders for the city to become great. So with that, I would like to invite Mr. Alfred. Mr. Alfred, are you here?
Yes,
Okay. So please, Mr. Alfred. Thank you.
yeah, wait, I'm to try to share the presentation. I not see the plus to the share the percentage. Somebody help to share
Um,
the percentage.
have you shared click the share screen?
Yes, I not see the sign, the plus sign.
Have just now did you upload the is it PDF or PPT?
It's PPT.
PPT. Then there's a share screen at the
I not see that. I not see Bima.
bottom right. There's a share screen at the bottom right. There's a little icon.
It's the high percentage. Sorry. Oh, sorry. I don't see it, Mas Bima. Sorry to everybody, but I don't see the the sign at the plus to the share screen.
Okay,
Oh,
how about now?
yeah. Uploaded.
Hmm?
Uh,
Okay. Find out. Your decision. I can see your face already.
Tapi ni tak orang kan? Caranya dari hijau ni.
But I can see your face from here.
Tentu aku tahu.
It's not.
everybody see my percentage or? Oh my.
Oh no, it's not there.
It's not. Oh, it's uploading process now. Maybe she's slow.
Hello.
Yeah, must be much. I think
Can you find the share screen?
to convert to the PDF first before my screen.
Yes.
PDF.
Maybe it's a very large. The
Um, may I suggest Mr. Alfred to share your screen? No, I think you can send to Mr. John Koo. So Mr. John, maybe you can help to share the slide.
no, but it's still uploading now. This uploading is 20%.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe it's my internet is slow.
Okay. Mr. Alfred,
Yeah.
can you just share without the slide first?
Yeah, before slide. Yeah.
Without showing the slide, maybe you can share your experience and.
Okay. Thank you for Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for inviting us to Malaysian Urban Forum 2020. Thank you to Mr. Bima and others to invite Koalisi Pejalan Kaki to networking event transforming into greener environment by University of Malaya. Discover how to make cities walkable again. First, the Koalisi Pejalan Kaki, the pedestrian of the pedestrian of coalition established since 2011. This the community and NGO as a non-government organization. This declared the first declaring National Pedestrian Day commemoration January 22. The activity voicing pedestrian rights and the second, the education pedestrian rights and obligation. Third, promotion road safety, sustainability, and others environmental issue. This the activities Koalisi Pejalan Kaki. The pedestrian, everyone is a pedestrian. Regarding of the type of the vehicle used, motorbike, car, buses, it will definitely be combined with the walking to reach to the destination. I think this is the pedestrian. Why pedestrian give the priority, but the pyramid the transportation, the non-motorized transportation, this is the first to prioritize to priority. The second is cycling, and the third to public transportation, and the last the motorbike and cars. The facility for the pedestrian in the national regulation in Indonesia, the first this the sidewalk and zebra cross, maybe it's the same in the other cities in the country. And the others, the guiding block, tactile, and pedestrian bridge. Maybe we to check 90%. Maybe to share now. Oh. They can condition the fatality crash pedestrian crash in the four cities in Indonesia, in Metro Jakarta, Bandung, Semarang, and Surabaya. 4,000 more than 4,000 pedestrian crashes, and 1,000 more than 1,000 pedestrian is dead in from 2018 16 until 2018. This the injuries in the 4,000 more than 4,000 injuries for pedestrian in four cities in Indonesia. There's the condition the pedestrian in Indonesia now, but 18 pedestrian death die per day in Indonesia, but it is a very bad for the condition the road, but the road is not have the good for the pedestrian. But now so many road in Indonesia to what they call it, the system one way is a very is not good for the pedestrian. Maybe it must be it is this is the this the reality now in Jakarta on the other cities. Uh, Sorry, but now, oh, this is my presentation. Everybody is see there? Sorry. Hello.
Yes, we can see it.
How over to the next slide? This.
Yeah, please.
Oh, it's a very slow thing. But the experience that by national regulation in Jakarta and surrounding the greater Jakarta, but 16% the targeting from the 30 million trip per day in Jakarta and surrounding Jakarta, but the targeting 29 60% using by transport. This the RETJ. The RETJ is what is it call it, the national the national regulation number 55 2018 Jakarta Jabodetabek Transportation Master Plan is 80% must be transported by transportation target is by 2029. This the target is Jakarta and surrounding Jakarta. But the new transforming in Jakarta, you look at the pedestrianisation and before the road diet, this the right side and left side. The left side is before the pedestrianisation, the before the road diet, and the right side is after the road diet. The road and sidewalk is the same size in one road in Jakarta. Sorry. I don't see the my slide in my presentation. Yeah.
Slide.
Not. It's not working now. Slide in the screen.
Okay. Is that continue?
Yeah. Yes, we need to collaborate in maintaining the pedestrian facilities by local owners to increase the pedestrian comfort and safety in the pedestrian areas. See, we need this. We campaign with the owner the building in Jakarta to protect the small area sidewalk in the sidewalk to maintaining the pedestrian facilities. To the next slide, construction of the pedestrian facilities is the pedestrian get the facilities in the from the temporary the protect the pedestrian. High violation and occupancy. Hopping from the strict law enforcement is not seasonal. So many people using the the motorbike in the sidewalk, in the parking in the bike in the sidewalk, and occupy 100% by the local selling. We need to not only to law enforce, but we need to give this some space to others, the local selling to, and give the enforce the park is not legal parking, illegal parking in the sidewalk. The next, we necessary to have the child friendly pedestrian facilities. I think this they reclaim the right the pedestrian facilities. We have there's so many activity in here. Maybe after the session we sending by WhatsApp and email. We have a conflict ego sectoral about the utility. So many utility is not to build the before the construction the work. And the last my presentation, but now in Jakarta and surrounding Jakarta, we need so many TOD, transport oriented development, to connect it the pedestrian from the first mile and last mile to option the mobility in from the others cities to capital cities in Jakarta. I think this is the last my presentation in my slide. Thank you very much. I'm so sorry, but this not have I see my presentation in the share screen. Sorry, Mas Bima, Miss Gus,
Uh,
and Susilawati.
it's
Sorry.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Alfred, for his sharing. I really like the statement that everyone is a pedestrian. So
Yeah.
if you are like driving every day, but someday maybe unfortunately you will become a pedestrian as well. So that's why we should make sure that the pedestrian walkway is actually safe and suitable and comfortable for all. That's why design part is very important. So here with us we have Mr. Bima Purnama. He is the urban designer and also urban planner, and he's the head of design in APUDG. I see that he has a lot of experience in doing the master plan and also the design guideline for TOD and other master plan. So maybe Mr. Bima, you can share from your perspective, okay, the real project experience of a city design and how the design actually responds to the specific needs of the people. Okay, so please, Mr. Bima, I invite you to share your experience. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, thank you very much, Dr. Moderator. Can you see my slides and can you hear me clearly? Boleh ya? I can see Dr. Ross is raising her thumb, so I take it as boleh lah. Okay, so Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon to all the listeners here. I think first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Ross on behalf of APUDG for inviting us to speak on the walkability today. And then as what the moderator has mentioned, today I'm going to be talking on the walkable city from the design point of view. So basically based on whatever has been discussed earlier today by the academicians and also the NGOs, we know walkability is actually a very important thing to be tackled, especially in the design of our cities. Okay, I think I'll start with my presentation, and then please let me know if you cannot see my presentation or if you cannot hear me clearly, and I can repeat for you. Okay, so okay, I'll start with the first slide. Okay, so okay, right. Okay, so I think before we start talking about the design of the cities, we need to go back a little bit of why actually our cities look like this today. So for those who know the story behind why our cities look like what it is today, is actually is the city that we have today is a result of an idea of an auto-oriented city or vehicular-oriented city. What do we mean by vehicular-oriented city? Is that people back in the days, they thought that that will our cars and vehicles will be the way forward to move around our city. So it was all good until I think about the 50s or the 60s and now our cities has turned into this. So you can see the what was thought as an ideal idea, it has become a problem that we didn't see back then, back in the days. So relating it back a little bit to the theme of the forum, which is the SDG 11, and then the theme of the forum is the transformation or I think implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals in the design of our cities. SDG 11 itself has mentioned about sustainable cities and communities as one of their targets. I think when we talk about walkability in more detail, there are actually two specific targets that we can refer to. The first one being target number 2 of the SDG 11, which is to provide access to safe, affordable, accessible, and sustainable transport system for all. And then also SDG 11 target 7, which is to provide universal access to safe, inclusive, and accessible green and public spaces, in particular for women and children, older persons, and persons with disabilities. Okay, so I mean, in the recent years, we have seen our cities are transforming. So from what I showed in the slide before, where it was very auto-oriented, we can see some parts of the world have beginning to understand the value of giving the spaces back to the people, or what people say, reclaiming the space back to the people. There's some example that Mr. Alfred has shown earlier. It showed that I think he took an example of Jakarta, where the city government has decided to take more space for pedestrian and then take out space from the cars. What was previously a semi-highway, now it has just become a major arterial road. So this is the same case as in New York, where they have started, the people or the pedestrian have started to reclaim back on what was used to be the space for cars, and then now you can see people actually using the spaces for daily activities or becoming humane spaces. Okay, and then I won't go very detailed, but you see these are some other examples of cities around, like in London, they are thinking of pedestrianizing Oxford Street, and then in New York, they're also looking at car-free neighborhoods, and then in Sydney, they are going big in pedestrianization or giving the spaces back to people. Okay, I think before we go to the next thing that I'm going to be talking about, which is how do we actually create a walkable city? So to do this, I believe we need to understand we need to go back to the human nature of walking, of it was mentioned earlier that everyone is pedestrian, and then we also know when we want to design a city, Dr. Rose said we need to do like the facilities, for example, for the walkers, like covered walkway, pedestrian crossing, and all that. But I would like to bring in a different perspective or different point of view, where to be able to make a walkable city, you need to actually understand or define the purpose of walking itself, and then only the form or the design to follow the function of it. So to make it easier to understand, you wouldn't walk if there's no reason to walk, as simple as that. So as the form itself, the design part, I have categorized in three buckets. The first one being the city planning aspect or the city planning answer to that, the building aspect, and last is the urban design answer to that. So our first principle is always, number one, is to give people the reason to walk. Without reason to walk, you wouldn't walk. As simple as that. So this kind of design principle is a very high impact design decisions, although it takes a long term to develop, because it will relate three factors. The first one being land use and activity. You also look at the aspect of density and also proximity. So these three are interrelated, and then with the objective of how do you actually give people the reason to walk. So I have in this three-dimensional diagrams that shows how the principles earlier, give the people reason to walk, is implied or applied into our city. So the first one being, I think we need to first plan for a wide range of activities, meaning that our cities need to have a diverse activities from job centers, housing, access to transportation, and many. These are the common reasons of why people travel or why people move from one place to another. And then the second one being attractions and leisure, and also contribute to the reason why people walk and travel. The second one being the more people live in area, the better. So I would like to be very careful with this. This normally is translated into density. However, when you see a lot of developments now are saying TOD, transit oriented developments, and then they suddenly have the rights to go or pump up the density up high to the sky. But density actually does not equal, it's not equal of high rise. Maknanya you have a higher density or high population number in one area, it doesn't mean that your area has to be high rise. It can be designed in such a way that it still respect the human scale. And then the third one is to connect origins and destinations well through transits. So this one is also the placement of where people live, where people go. It becomes very important in enabling the walking environment. So, talking about walkability is the whole environment. It's not just as simple as providing infrastructure for walking. It's the environment, the enabler of how you actually walk. Why do you want to walk? And then from there, how do we connect to transit? So, and then this is where the transit-oriented development comes in. By connecting it to transit, it becomes your catchment becomes larger. You can actually get to another places, and other places, and the walking becomes part of the whole movement system of your city. Okay, so after the first one, understand or give people the reason to walk. The second one is to understand the profile of walkers. We already know who's going to be living there, who's going to be doing activities there, what kind of activities are happening there. And then now this is the medium impact part comes in. So the medium impact or the connectivity part, the form or the shape, and also the convenience part. So after placing, for example, where your houses are, where your commercial areas are, what kind of commercials? Is it more like grocery store or is it more like an office kind? Because these kind of different users, they generate different crowds and different function. So for example, maybe from the places from your home to this is more your groceries, and this line becomes more like a daily activity where you go to your grocer. If you place your office here, then this line becomes more commuter line for people who go to work and come back to work. And then you can actually guess the timings or the time that they come or use the space. For example, for for example, because I would say is a very homogeneous use. It's mostly university and maybe asrama or colleges. So you can actually see the pattern of movement. You can easily read the pattern of the movement. So the students will wake up and then they'll go to class, and then maybe in the middle of the day they will go, I don't know, to maybe to the canteen, and then go back to class, and then go back to the house. So this kind of pattern that we need to map out in our cities, and then see the pattern of movement of our cities, and then how do we respond through design. And then the next one is to consider people of all ages. I think this one has been mentioned by Mr. Alfred earlier, where our cities now, we should consider all different users, from children to elderly to maybe in some gender sensitive issues. And then the next one is congregation points. Mark your congregation points. So after understanding all these patterns, you see where do they intertwine. This intertwining becomes the congregation points, or what we call the nodes of activities. So these are what I would like to say, the gold mines. The gold mines meaning that the areas that you can actually use and capitalize and spend your money on infrastructure on these congregation points, because this is where most people will walk, where most people will meet and see each other. So commercial will thrive because a lot of people will be on the street. Public realm will have a lot of people, public spaces, parks, and so on and so forth. Okay, and then this is just an example of how you see, after understanding the different pattern of the city, who uses the space at different time of the day, and then you will start to know where your areas are the most busiest at what time. So this is an example of the Orchard Road in Singapore. So you see, I'm just trying to relate back to understand your users, meaning that, for example, for Orchard Road, most of the activities surrounding it are all shopping and leisure. So you see the kind of pattern of people that use the space are mostly tourists or leisure people who just casual walkers who wants to enjoy the space of the city. In comparison with this kind of people who use the space, these are commuters, people who transit from use different public transport system to go to their office. And then you see how the two differences in design. So this one is more pleasing, more leisure and aesthetically driven design, whereas this is more functional design. Meaning to say that, for example, for this kind of people, you may have to provide benches, you want to provide places for people to eat, some street kiosks, because these are the people who are going to use it. Whereas this one is more like people crossing through paths, and then they go very quickly, and all they need to do is they just need the clearance. They just want to get to their location fast. And then also, once we know that the different pattern, we prioritize the users based on the space. So what's the reason of this is, we want to prioritize the streets, because I know we say that all pedestrians are good, but we always believe that for a city to work, you need more than just pedestrians. You still need the lorries, you still need the buses, you still need the private vehicles. But it's just how do we respond to that through design. So following my storyline from the beginning, that you know where your places are, you know the pattern of the movement, and then now is the time to actually define and prioritize the users of the space. So maybe based on this diagram, you see these are the most high pedestrian volume area. Then you start to put the other services or the other users of the streets, like the lorries, the buses, and all the private vehicles, to be maybe on the edges. Why we do this is, one is we want to reduce the conflicts between pedestrians and vehicles. Because in a lot of our cities, when it's not, when as you walk, you oftentimes you get stopped because there's a car that wants to go into the development plot, and then you stop again because there's a lorry that wants to pick up your rubbish, and then you stop again because there's a bus. Whereas in some cities, the good pedestrian oriented cities, pedestrian can just walk without any disturbance. Not to say that we should take all these people out from the city, we just have to divert to where things are supposed to be. So and then this kind of image of the city that we can have in comparison to this kind of image. You know, for a city to work, we still need this kind of function. It's inevitable that we need the access to car park, we need the rubbish collection, but it's just the matter of how do we make sure this and this are not conflicting. Okay, and then last but not least, the principle of designing to fit the users. So understanding all the principles and the concept, and this is where the lowest impact, or sorry, I mean the impact will be it's very small interventions where the intention is to increase safety, comfort, and leisure. So when we talk about safety, comfort, and leisure, and then only we talk about where do people walk on those streets. We, if possible, we want to make sure that people have access to a lot of penetrable, as in a lot of access through the buildings, out of the buildings, and then so where we call the walk on the streets and beyond. So don't limit the pedestrians to only on the streets. Allow them to explore the buildings, to go through some of the public buildings and the park open spaces. And then the second one is to animate the street with activities. So, you know, having an empty street, a boring street, compared to having a street with a lot of attractions and activities along the streets. You know, as the famous go saying, people go well where people are. And then last but not least, barulah design for comfort and convenience. I think this one will be easily done. You know, this one just putting some trees, covered walkway, you know, pedestrian crossings and all that. Yeah, and then just showing some images of how do we actually animate the street. What you see here is a product of an urban design guidelines where you actually control what is happening on the street, and then on the contrary of what is happening at the back of the street, which is on the other side of the building. That's where all the services and the deliveries and all that is happening. And then this is how we control the facade of the building. How do you make sure the building talks to the surrounding? You know, creating activities. You know, some alfresco dining, some covered walkway as part of the building. And then you see as you walk here, it's actually more interesting and more inviting to walk. Yeah. Okay. I think just a very last point which I'd like to make. Just sharing some with you on some of our projects that we've been working on as part of our commitment on delivering the sustainable development goals and sustainable development agendas. As a company, we have done a number of master plan, garis panduan, and urban design guidelines, and also plot development briefs together with city intervention projects that looks into walkability at a more holistic way. So maksudnya from the planning point of view, building point of view, urban design point of view, as well as landscape point of view. I think I won't go detail on some of the projects, but you can, I think we can share this document with you later. So yeah, these are some examples of how do we control creating the walkable city element for the pedestrians, from the building interfacing to the spaces, and as well as the design elements of a walkable street itself. Okay, and then last kali is I would like to mention on how do we actually make it happen. You know, we've talked about the issues, we've talked about the rights of pedestrians, we've talked about the analytical tools, and then we've also talked about the design part of it. But now the big question mark is how to make sure it happens. So this one I would like to introduce to you a concept of what we call the tactical urbanism. And then what is tactical urbanism is basically both a top-down approach and bottom-up approach with the objectives of walkability. So, and then I won't go very detailed, but basically this slide is showing that creating a walkable city is not just the responsibilities of planner or architect or urban designer or academicians or NGOs. It is actually the responsibilities of all, from communities, citizens, municipalities, urban designers, and so on and so forth. So this one we see on the most right, the orange boxes on the step by step of how you actually create this or making this tactical urbanism happen to all the way to the budget feasibility and also the people's part of it, which this concept has been implemented in many of the cities of the world, where I know one, if I'm not mistaken, in Brazil, where is more of a bottom-up approach, where the local people, they approach the city municipalities to do something to increase their walkability, and then the municipalities act as an enabler, or the people who actually meet the top down and the bottom up approach. Okay, I think that's it from me, moderator. Thank you so much. And then I think if anybody has any questions, I would be happy to try to answer.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Bima, for the good sharing session. Okay, apparently we have the first of all, I would like to apologize to the participants because I was informed by the organizer that you cannot participate via audio or video. But then I see that Mr. Naziro here already made an initiative. Okay, he already create a chat via, I think, what this one? A group chat. So maybe if possible, the speaker can join that group chat and let's continue the discussion there. Okay, for now, I think Mr. Alan Wong, okay, I would like to deliver his question on the space sharing. So I would like to ask the opinion from the speaker. What do you think about space sharing? Okay, between different modes of traffic, because just now Mr. Bima said that we cannot rely on one modes of transportation only for the city to work. Okay, we actually need to have different modes of transportation. So uh, is that possible for the space to be shared by, let's say, the heavy transportation and also by the cyclists and also pedestrian? So, any opinion from the speaker? Maybe Mr. Bima can start first.
Sure. I think the question of sharing spaces is very important. We've come to the age of the city development where we don't segregate anymore. You know, in the 60s there were a lot of issues where people were segregating the spaces for pedestrian, for cars, and then it just didn't work. But now what we need to actually start to understand, as I have mentioned earlier, that cities, you need more than you need more than one transportation for cities to work lah. So sharing spaces, it can be done with, if you look at my earlier slides just now, the sharing of the spaces, it can be done once we understand the pattern of the city. So you know the pattern of the city, you know what is happening in your city, and then you can decide which areas are to be shared by whom. Rather than a lot of cases now where they just completely shut the street and turn it into a pedestrian area. Sometimes it doesn't work because you do it without the consideration of the other users. People are still driving their lorries and the big buses through that because they don't have anywhere to go. But once you understand the pattern, you can actually divert these other heavy users into other spaces. I would like to also bring up an example. I think example of sharing, it doesn't mean that you can access the place all the time. Sharing can be maybe all the services and deliveries can only be done at night where there are not many pedestrians on the street. Whereas during the day, you only allow people and bicycle to go through. You know, there's a lot of other spectrums to it. But I think we should start to see the sharing of our spaces, but it's just the matter of who gets the priority on those spaces. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bima. And how about Dr. AP, Dr. Rosilawati Zainul?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Allen, for the question. I think the like what Mr. Alfred showed just now about road diet, sharing the space with the motorized vehicles, making it bigger for pedestrian to use more. So I'm for it because it's timely that we promote walking instead of private vehicles, especially in a small area, like say for example CBD, the central business district, and then for university campus, it do like UM is not that big, it's that's why we would like to encourage students to walk more. But many of these students always when we ask them to come up with proposals to develop any part of UM, they will always ask for more parking space. We shouldn't be doing that, because we should encourage more walking. And if you were to provide those interesting lookouts like what Mr. Bima showed just now, it will be very interesting. You don't feel that you're walking 1 or 2 kilometers within the campus. You have lots of things to view. I enjoy walking, but must be accommodate with lots of things to view. Beautiful plants, for to appreciate more of the nature. And I don't think, if we are looking at SDG and we are trying to fulfill this SDG goals by 2030, we should move towards that goal, achieving that goal, like Mr. Alfred showed just now. I'm so happy to see that they have these pay cards to encourage people to walk more. And then like what Mr. Bima said, we have to have interesting things, the aesthetic value of the surrounding, to entice people to walk more. That one is very important. If not, you won't see people walking. I think that's my view, Dr. Noaulia.
Okay, thank you so much, AP Dr. Rosilawati Zainul. And we still have Mr. Alfred with us. Mr. Alfred? Oh, I think he's not here anymore. So, due to the limited time, okay, we should end our session here. Okay, the next session with the title of The Role That Public Space Play in Time of Crisis by Malaysia Institute of Planner will start at 12:40. So, thank you for all for joining this. And maybe, as I said earlier, we can discuss further about this topic
Yes.
in the Telegram group. Oh, Mr. Alfred is here.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Okay. It's okay. I think we can continue in the group about our discussion. Okay,
Oh,
Mr. Alfred.
just 1 minute.
Oh, okay.
To sparkling interest again, any people to walk, to more walk. I think we need the political wisdom, the executive and legislative to give the guarantee to protect the all pedestrian in the cities, in the in the cities. I think this is the first, but you not give the guarantee to the protect the pedestrian. I think uh, uh, now many people to the walk again, but now so many people now we have the option to the rent about the car and motorbike. I think then and the second who to give the educate more educate to the people and to the promote about the using the public transportation and cycling and walk again. I think this. Thank you, Miss Moderator.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much for the good opinion, Mr. Alfred.